Some big changes are coming to Calamity Armorsets. Let's create a roadmap and showcase everything that has been teased so far. Just keep in line like my last roadmap, this may all be subject to change. Firstly, let's begin with Arsenal Armor. These are customizable that will upgrade throughout progression. Players can choose between two types of customization, allocating stat points to the armor and choosing its special abilities. Helmet abilities will focus on utility, chestplate abilities on combat, and leggings on mobility. Now let's showcase all the abilities. There is a lot to cover. Feel free to pause the video, and big thanks to Triangle for these amazing sprite works and making sure all my information is as accurate as possible. We begin at tier 1 being available pre-hard mode at Aerialite. Its helmet will have the following abilities: the ultra bright lamp, the scan pulse, and the telemagnetic dynamo. Next up is the chestplate with combat, the laser barrage, the repulsion shield, and the battle plating. And lastly, for tier 1 leggings on mobility, we have the pulse jump, micro jets, and lastly the hover engine. Now let's move on to tier 2 Arsenal Armor abilities, which will be available post bringing Goliath using infected platings. These are predominantly upgraded versions of the previous tier 1, with the tier 2 helmet abilities consisting of the eye drone, the terror vision, and the mining probe. The tier 2 chest plates having twin missiles, the mighty shield, and prime plating. And tier 3 leggings having prime explosive boots, the worm hook, and the cursed engine. And for the final tier 3 Arsenal armor, being Post-Providence at Eurobloom. For the utility tier 3 helmets, we have the Necrotech Scout, the enhanced nano visor, and the Starblight cells. Moving on to the combat chestplate, we have the Plague Missile, the Planetary Shield, and the Necro Plating. As for the leggings, the Brimflame Jets, the Astral Powered Leg Pistons, and the Plague Engine. So what are your thoughts on these new armor sets so far? Personally, this seems really awesome, as customizable armor sets are something quite unique to Terraria, so it'll be interesting to see how this develops. But it doesn't stop here. The Exo Armor will actually be the final tier, available post-Draydon, in which you'll combine Exo Prisms with the tier 3 Arsenal Armor. This has all the stats maxed out, with the player now being able to choose 2 abilities for each armor piece, and all the abilities are upgraded to special Exo variants. For the helmet, abilities consist of the Divine Archer Drone, summoning 2 miniature Exo Twins, with Apollo highlighting treasure and ramming at enemies, while Artemis will highlight danger and shoot a barrage of lasers at enemies. War God Gaze creates weak spots on enemies marked by a red Exo target. When a player hits the target, enemies will violently explode, debuffing them with a Miracle Glide. Miracle Essence will drop fruits when you damage an enemy, and Death Probes are triggered pressing the hotkey, which shoots a small army of Thanatos themed probes, similar to the Wolfram Digging Turtles. The chestplate will have offensive/defensive abilities, with the Gauze Nuke, the Miracle Plating, which alters the appearance of the armor and now becomes a tank set, with enhanced regeneration and damage reduction at the cost of less offense. The player can now also root itself to the ground for a short time, to massively speed up its regeneration and defense factor. And contrasting to the Overheated Plate, which will be a glass cannon set, pressing the hotkey will make the armor overheat, transforming defense and damage reduction into pure damage and critical strike chance. The longer you spend overheated, the more your damage will increase and the more your defense will decrease. Pressing the button down will launch a powerful Thanatos style Death Ray and revert the armor back to its original form. And as for the last chestplate ability, Blessing of the Archer Gods, this will make the player alternate between 2 modes. Apollo will give the player increased speed, a trail of Exo energy, and allow you to dodge attacks. Artemis will greatly enhance players' attack speed, damage, and also fire additional Exo lasers on the player's attacks. The armor will glow between orange or green, indicating which form you're in. As for the mobility leggings, we have the Gamma Fueled Engine, War Hooks, Miracle Root Leg Pistons, and finally the Twin Rotors. It will be super interesting to see how this would compete with the reworked Demonshade armor, as the developer has stated this will be more class specific compared to the Exo Armor being well rounded. Next armors I want to talk about will be the Tarragon or Eurobloom sets. These will be eventually removed from the Calamity mod and replaced with the previously mentioned Arsenal tier 3 set, as well as a potential new Profane Guardian armor set, which revolves around the Healer, Commander, and Guardian. Since my last roadmap, the Ravager will still be reworked to a post-Moonlord boss. As stated from many devs, Aerolite will be the next armor set reworked, moving away from the 5 helmets towards specialized pieces for the Ranger and Mage class. You may have noticed that not only the helmet is different, but also the chestplate. There is not much to be said about these armor sets, so we'll have to wait and see before we get closer to its full release. And speaking of Aerolite, Calamity's first ever Aerolite whip is also being planned. So for everyone asking me about Calamity whips, it's definitely cooking. Lastly for reworks, we have an early teaser of the Cryonic bar and the new Daedalus rework, being rogue class specific, as well as the summoner class getting a new Daedalus golem. These intend to cover both classes, which don't have access to hard mode alls. You may also be wondering, if all these 5 armor sets are being moved to be more class specific, surely there needs to be more armor sets for other classes. Well, Triangle has teased a brand new armor set coming to the Rogue class. These armors will be available post-Perforators / Hive Mind, with this being the Corruption variant and this being the Crimson one. As of this video, I could not find any info on what these armors will do, so subscribe for updates and goodbye.